Folks, there's the law, and then there's real life. I'll get into that, and then the latest home prices and insights for York Region for week ending April the 9th, 2025. There's been so many situations where buyer buys a home, they're waiting for closing, they close, and when they show up all happy and excited and have their key for the first time for their new home, something is missing. The fridge has been swapped out for a lesser quality fridge, or the stove has been swapped out, or the washer dryer is just gone altogether, or there's a big scratches on these beautiful hardwood floors when they bought it because, wow, great floors, and those are all ruined with the move going out. And the buyer thinks, well, seller has to make good on this, whatever the situation is, and the buyer wants to sue the seller, and everybody's saying, yeah, you're in your right and you can sue, and yeah, you are in your right. But then as the buyer goes down this road, real life reality hits that just because you're right doesn't mean it's the right path for you. And reality and the law are often kind of, hitting themselves and butting heads as to what makes sense and what doesn't. So the law is normally pretty clear. When you buy a property and that whole period of agreement of purchase and sale is accepted today, and you're waiting whatever length of time till closing date, the seller is still responsible for that house. And the way you purchased it is the way it's supposed to be delivered. So if there's a stainless steel fridge in the kitchen, it's the same fridge that needs to be there on closing, and it needs to be working if that's in the agreement, that, all shackles, everything connected or that comes within the purchase price is in good working order. We've seen it before where you show up and the AC isn't working, and the seller openly says, oh yeah, it broke down just last week. Why didn't you fix it? You're responsible to fix it. And the seller's attitude is, sue me. I ain't fixing it. It's your home. It's an old AC. Yeah, but the seller, you knew, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, that up until closing, you're responsible for this stuff. Many times on our visits, with the buyer visits that we have leading up to closing, we could spot some of these things. And even if we do, where we say, hey, this home is really hot, I'll call the listing agent, like, it's really warm here, and can we turn up the AC? And the agent may say, oh yeah, I just spoke to the seller about that this morning, and he says the AC broke. Oh, okay, so I guess they're going to get this fixed before closing, and we would expect the answer to be yes, and they may say yes, and we'll follow up, is it fixed? Can we come back and see that it's fixed? And the seller will openly say, I'm not fixing it. And the buyer then gets all upset and calls their lawyer and says, the AC's not working, they need to fix it. And the lawyer says, yeah, they need to fix it. It's in the agreement that the seller's still responsible for their home. It needs to be fixed. And one lawyer calls the other lawyer, and the seller's lawyer says, they're not going to fix it. That's it. That's just plain. They say they're not going to fix it. And the buyer's lawyer tells the buyer, they're not going to be fixing this. It's going to be like that when you move in. And the buyer says, well, I'm not closing. And that's where the buyer gets hit with the reality of the situation, because their lawyer is going to tell them, you have to close. The fact that the AC isn't working, or the fact that they swapped out the fridge for a lesser quality fridge, or whatever the case may be like that, the buyer still has to close. If the buyer doesn't close, they're going to be in breach. Well, the seller not repairing those things or swapping out the appliances or whatnot, the seller is also not fulfilling their end of the deal. But there are very, very few items out there that could cause a buyer not to close without being in breach. So the buyer's lawyer will explain to them, you have to close still, and then you could turn around and sue them. And the buyer would be well within their right, and according to contract law, the seller would be in the wrong. It's an open and shut case if it only makes sense that you actually take the seller to court. That's the reality of the situation. There could be $2,000-$3,000 costs or fees in replacing the fridge or fixing whatever's broken. It just, the buyers find many times it makes no sense to go through the court system. So you're hit with this reality of, I'm right as the buyer, but it makes no sense for me to go after the seller. It makes far more sense just to bite it, fix it, deal with it, and move on. That's the reality. Now, let me say, 8 times out of 10, 8.5 times out of 10, sellers are awesome. Something breaks, they fix it. They tell the buyer later, oh, by the way, AC broke, we put in a new AC, or we got it repaired and it's warranted for a year or 2 not to break again, whatever the case is. Oh, by the way, the fridge broke, we've replaced it with a newer fridge. They didn't have that model, so we bought a better model. 8.5 times out of 10, the sellers are awesome. But every now and then, we run into a situation where seller's attitude is, no, I'm not going to do it. And you as the buyer think that the law will protect you. It will if you're prepared to go down that road. And when you really look at the map of what that road entails, it's like, it doesn't make any sense that I do that. I'm not giving you legal advice. I am not a lawyer. I'm just speaking from experience. If you find yourself in this situation or anything similar, speak directly with your lawyer. If you feel this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Below this video in the description, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, or you can go straight to tsre.ca. That'll take you to my calendar. Pick a date and time that suits you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. Here we go, folks. We're going to talk about York Region, but the playoffs, they're 1 week away. Go Leafs, go. Okay, let's get back to York Region. Detached properties, we're going to be focused on Richmond Hill. What's going on? I put a question mark there, asking myself, what's going on? Markham, Vaughan, these are average sold prices. They're all over the place. We're going to start off with Vaughan. Detached properties for week ending April the 9th. 20 detached properties were sold. 7 of those, 7 were at $2 million or more. 7 is kind of seems, normal over the last few weeks. We've been at 7, we've been at 6, we've been at 5. 20 sales? I put a line across it. I always try to pick a trend, and I can't say that sales are trending up or trending down, although the last couple of weeks they've trending down. But overall, if I look at since the beginning of February, I would say sales are kind of flat. Yeah, they're up, they're down, but 20, it's kind of a little bit on the lower end, but they're not really trending in any specific direction. Average sold price is a little bit trickier to understand. So for week ending April the 9th, average sold price is $1,693,000. And we've been kind of going in phases. So if we look at January to February, average sold price was in the high 1.6 to low 1.7. And then we went through a phase where average price was in the lower part of 1.6. And now for a few weeks, we're back up to the high 1.6, 1.7. So it's tough to say which way sales are trending, or average price is trending, but that's kind of what's happening out there. Compared to last year, 1693 is 4% lower year over year. The median price is 1% lower. Median price is 1,610,000. The dotted line, that's a 4-week moving average. And it also is not as clear as what we would want it to be. So for a while, average prices and median prices were trending down. If we kind of go from the middle of March to where we are now, so 3 weeks, 4 weeks or so, looks like average and median prices may be trending up. Sales, 20 were sold. 8 of them, which is 40%, sold at list price or more. Year-to-date sales, if we look at January 1st to April 9th, this year versus last year, we have 28% fewer sales this year versus last year. So sales are way down. It's not a surprise. You've heard on this show and media, lots of people talking about fewer sales. Well, this is the exact number, 28% fewer sales year-to-date. Listings go the other way. For week ending April 9th, 93 were listed. Active listings is climbing. We're sitting now at 513 active available detached properties sitting on the market unsold. But that's a 79% increase from the amount of active listings we had this time a year ago. It's a big increase. And months of inventory kind of looks like it's climbing. We're sitting at 4.9 months of inventory. That's for Vaughan. Let's look at, I'm almost afraid to say, because I can't explain, Richmond Hill, detached properties. For week ending April the 9th, 10 were sold. That's it, just 10. It's not our slowest week, but 10 is still pretty slow. 5 of those, half, sold at $2 million or more. And what do you think happens to average sold price when so few sells and half of them are $2 million or more? Average sold price, zoom to the moon. $2,085,000 is the average sold price for week ending April the 9th. You cannot take the data that we're showing when sales are so few, so serious. Compared to last year, 2005, remarkably, last year had the same thing happen, is only 1% higher than where the average price was a year ago. The median price of $2,014,000 is 12% higher year over year. I'm not even going to begin to talk about the 4-week moving average and what it's trying to show us. But let's look at this. Let's look at overall sales year to date, January 1st to April 9th. How do we compare to last year for Richmond Hill? For detached properties, well, we're down 31% in sales. So far fewer sales this year than last year overall. Listings go the other way. They almost double. For week ending April the 9th, 80 detached properties were listed. Now, remember, 10 were sold, but for the same week, 80 were listed. And if you accumulate the detached properties sitting unsold, we have a total of 499 available detached properties sitting on the market for sale, but only 10 sold. But compared to last year, 499 is 94% more detached properties available for sale. So it's almost double active listings versus last year. And months of inventory sitting at 7.2 months of inventory. Let's look at Markham for detached properties. For week ending April the 9th, 17 detached properties sold. 5 of those were at $2 million or more. Sales were trending up, which is kind of normal this time of year. That's what we would normally expect, but they did drop down for this week. An average sold price is sitting at $1,708,000. 1708 is 2% lower year over year. The median price is 1% lower. The dotted line, the 4-week moving average, kind of has either flat or, yeah, I would say overall kind of flat, the average price over the last couple months. Sales year to date, we have 25% fewer sales this year, and listings more than double. As far as active listings go, 446 this year. It's 227 more than what we had last year at this time. That's a 104% increase in active listings this year versus last year. Months of inventory kind of looks like it's trending down. Although it's up from the previous week overall, lower than where we were before. We're now sitting at 3.8 months of inventory, a bit more of a balanced market. Here's a quick summary. For fun, I'm comparing the months of inventory last year. Last year we were sitting at, for the same week for Vaughan, 1.7. Today we're at 4.9. Richmond Hill last year was 2.2. Today we're at 7.2. Markham was 1.9. Today we're at 3.8. And for fun, I put condos here. See the kind of fun I have? This is what I do for fun. 2.5 months of inventory. 6.5 is today's months of inventory for condos. So there's a huge difference between the market this year versus a year ago. And the biggest factor, well, just two: fewer sales and far more properties available for sale. And everything else really boils down to how does it affect supply and demand. And we can see whatever's happening, less demand, fewer sales, more properties available for sale. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome Easter. If you're not celebrating Easter, that's okay. Enjoy the time with your family. Thanks. Have a great day.